Good morning and welcome to A Closer Look. I'm your host, Linda Fontaine. Today, my guest is Adam Jablin, author of Lotsaholic, From a Sick to Sober Superman. Thank you for joining us today, Adam.
Thanks, Linda. I'm so happy to be here.
Now, October is Drug Addiction Month, if I'm not mistaken, and you've got a lot to say on this subject. Talk to me a little bit. Tell me about your story.
Oh, Linda, thanks for asking. And it's a good time to bring awareness to this. I'm the alcoholic and addict that did not know he had a problem. The way I grew up, I thought an alcoholic was a bum on the streets with holding a bottle in a paper bag, mumbling to himself, petting a cat that's not there, you know? And I thought an addict was, let's say, like Chris Rock in the movie New Jack City. So these were my definitions. But what happened was alcohol and drugs slowly took over. One day at a time, I got worse and worse and worse, to a point that I crossed an invisible line that I did not know was there. And I went from somebody that could drink and take pills recreationally to somebody that actually became dependent upon it. And this is not like I had a moment of clarity or I had a white light experience and I'm like, oh, I need help. I'm the kind of guy that needed to have an intervention. I'm the kind of guy that everybody in my life had to say, look, there's a problem. There's a problem. Yeah. Because I was a work hard, play hard guy. I thought, alcohol and pills were like my reward. You know, if you take care of your body and if you go to work and if you pay the bills, well, I mean, I thought I deserved to have a good time. So I walked into an intervention and my whole life changed.
How long ago was this, Adam?
July 14th, 2006. So I've been clean and sober for 14 years.
That's great.
Thank you so much. But that was the day my whole life changed. I thought I was going to, during my intervention said like, well, we have a place for you for 28 days. And I just couldn't wrap my head around 28 days, Linda. I couldn't wrap my head around it. So, and that's what I kept saying. So they were like, well, why don't we just give you 10 days and see if you have this thing? You want to know what the last question I had at my intervention was? Does this mean I can't drink anymore? That's the kind of alcoholic and addict you're talking to. My denial was so thick, so thick. I'll never forget the first day meeting a counselor, you know, and him speaking to me about the disease of alcoholism and addiction, everything making sense to me, everything feeling right, you know, going, oh, that's why I got a DUI. That's why I spent those 2 nights in jail. That's why I wrote my wife 17 letters that I would quit. That's why I got pulled over. You know, just that everything finally made sense to me. But I looked at him and I said, does this mean I can't have a glass of champagne at my daughter's wedding? And he looks at me so crazy. He's like, how old's your daughter? I said, 6 months old. He said, only an alcoholic would worry if he could have a glass of champagne at his daughter's wedding at 6 months old. And slowly this denial and this ego that I had began to crack, slowly but surely. And I learned about the disease of alcoholism and addiction. I learned how it took over my life. I learned that's why when I have one, I can't stop. I can't stop, Linda. You know, if you and I decide to say cheers and open a Coors Light, I used to say, it's on. Oh, it's on. Now, I didn't know what that meant. I just meant like, oh, we're like, it's time to have a good time. Like, but I couldn't, when you said, okay, the night's over, I couldn't stop. And our bodies are different. You know, when I drink, the alcohol gets broken through the liver and the pancreas, and it sends the acetones go to my brain, and it sends signals saying, this is good. We need more. You can drive better like this. Most people, it's, okay, slow down. I'm a little bit woozy. So it was a heck of a journey. And to be honest with you, it's a spiritual journey. And that's what my book is about. It's a lot about me surrendering, a part of my ego dying, a part of me understanding that I'm not in control, And because I don't believe you beat alcoholism and addiction. I just don't. I believe that you surrender to the winning team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've done. You know, recovery is the winning team. And I have story after story that I could tell you, but this is an important time for us to just, you know, get into it, talk about what's happening with families, talk what's with the pandemic. You know, addiction and alcoholism has made the suicide rates and death rates higher than ever. So
Right.
it's important.
I was going to ask you about that with the pandemic. I've heard a lot of stuff where people have become so stressed and so depressed that you've probably been hearing a lot more about this sort of thing. Now, tell me a little bit about your book. Do you have like tools and secrets and different things to help people recognize this and maybe
Yes.
what they can do?
Yes. Well, that was my whole inspiration and motivation for writing the book. I just felt like they should be, what I was learning in rehab, I felt should be taught to every kid in school. Every kid in school. So that was what inspired me to sit down and type every word. Plus, I felt so fortunate that I was one of the lucky few to be able to afford rehab and learn such valuable gifts. So my book takes you through what it's like being an alcoholic and addict, in the mind of an alcoholic and addict. You know, I was a very successful businessman. It's not like I was living on the streets, you know, but it catches up. A Xanax to calm down, an Ambien to go to sleep, a few cocktails. Before you know it, it's a little hair of the dog in the morning or a Xanax in the morning. And it just builds up and builds up and builds up. So you go through the mind of an alcoholic and an addict, wanting to be with his family, but the torture of wanting to also have a drink at the same time. You go through the surrender of what it's like to finally get help, and what it's like to go through the rehab process. You meet all of my counselors, you meet Monsignor Ron, you meet Father John Diamond, you go through, you find, you know, my inner child work, but you see the other people's inner child work. So the reader can relate to somebody going through recovery, going through sobriety, going through treatment. And then you get to see when I come out of rehab and what life is like, because, you know, you're given a new pair of glasses. So, you know, when you drive by that billboard and it's got Absolute Vodka on it, in the beginning, it looks threatening. You know, I used to watch Corona commercials and like just get the fear of God, you know, just the fear like, oh my God, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch this, you know, but slowly but surely I was able to adapt to life. Yeah. Yeah.
That is interesting. You know, you don't think of that because you don't know, if you're not somebody in addiction, that those little things are so threatening.
Linda, little things as small as changing my mouthwash from Listerine to Crest, because Crest has no alcohol. You know, it's watching and taking care of your recovery and sobriety the same way you would watch a 1-year-old or a baby. Every little thing has to be taken care of, because God forbid you go backwards.
Right. And you have to surround yourself with healthy people. You need to depend on other people. You have to realize, you know, if I can't do this on my own, I got to surround myself with people that will help me become a stronger person. There's all kinds of things I'm sure you have to do in that realm.
But you nailed it. You nailed it. And that's why I use the word surrender, you know, because it is a letting go of a part of yourself. It's also an acceptance of the way your body is created, and realizing that, okay, other people know the way out. Let me just follow what they do. Let me learn how they live. And it may be very foreign to you and very different to how your parents and your best friends live. And that's where the recovery kicks in. Imagine that. Your child has to live differently than the way you raised them because they have a problem. Your child can't hang out with their best friends anymore because they have a problem. They have to live by a different set of, so that I just wanted to say that so people can understand what that person is going through when they need to change. But it's a beautiful life. Recovery is a beautiful life.
Well, you
And I'm
seem
glad-
so happy and at peace. And the people I know that have gone through this just seem at peace. And because you have to grow probably more than people like me who don't have an addiction problem, but I haven't had to go introspectively and learn things about myself. You've not only had to overcome an addiction, but you've also learned more about yourself, become a stronger person, and you probably have learned more about how you can help yourself and others as well, because you seem very peaceful and content.
Well, Linda, it's funny, but from a guy that didn't believe in God and didn't like religion and all of that stuff, you start realizing that golden rule is really true. It really is love thy brother as thyself. So yes, you're right. A lot of my joy is giving it back, to people. It's doing stuff like this. It's talking about it. And it's one of the reasons I started my coaching program. I don't help only alcoholics and addicts. I help people. But I love giving back. I love taking people from here and bringing them to here.
Well, tell us how people can get in touch with you or learn more about you and learn more about your book.
Thanks. Yes, you can find me on adamjablin.com, Instagram at Adam Jablin, Facebook at Adam Jablin, LinkedIn at Adam Jablin, and my book, Lotsaholic, From a Sick to Sober Superman, is on Amazon. And the Audible book is coming out, or just came out, but we're going to have a nice launch party for it. So thanks for asking.
Very good. Adam, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for all your information. It was a pleasure having you on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you back here next week with another edition of A Closer Look. Have a great, healthy, safe week.